About training theory, training methodologies, how to get the most out of an exercise program. Um, I thought I'd kind of take a step back for all the people who tune in and talk about aging. I suppose since this month I'll be celebrating my 75th birthday, this is tends to be on my mind, and it raises the question of training. What are you training for? What are you getting fit for? Why does somebody like myself devote hours and hours to pursuing, in many cases, a kind of an indefinite goal? Uh, Health and fitness in and of themselves are wonderful objectives, and I certainly urge all of you who are listening to pursue them. Um, but they're also more than objectives. They're also methods of obtaining a relatively, I think, more important objective, and that is aging well, uh, meaning without sickness, without injury, uh, in several aspects. Being healthy and fit allows you to enjoy things that, well, let's face it, people who aren't healthy, who aren't fit, cannot. It allows you to continue as you age, enjoying, quote unquote, the golden years, retirement or recreation, or visiting with relatives, or taking care of grandchildren, or those kinds of things, which we tend to take for granted as we get older. Uh, it's nice to look forward to. But in my career of teaching exercise to many people over the last 50 years, it's always struck me as being very, very sad that I see somebody who is, in many cases, at the peak of their life between the ages of, well, 40, 50. When normally, a normal lifespan, you can expect well into your 70s, if not 80s. Of course, there are considerations, and there are certainly accidents that happen, things that are beyond your control. Mark, thanks for tuning in. So I think we kind of have to step back and try and look forward a bit to, why am I doing the things? Why am I committed to this level of fitness? What is the real advantage of maintaining a healthy body, uh, and for that matter, a healthy mind? And how do we go about doing that? So one of the reasons why people do not do this is a little thing called the Immortality Complex. It's not really a complex, but people don't stop to think that anything untoward or accidental is going to happen to them. Many people are just busy living their lives, and they don't think of the negative aspects of living: accidents, sickness, eating the wrong foods, not being fit, those kinds of things. It doesn't really cross their mind. It's interesting. Uh, we read about it every day. People who have heart attacks, people who are obese, people who continue to smoke, people who refuse to wear masks, people who refuse to get vaccinated. It it's always curious to me that, do they think that they are immortal? Do they think that the ravages of sickness and ill health are not going to visit them? Because they will. Science tells us this. You would be very, very fortunate to go through life without taking an aggressive stance on preserving your health and perhaps staying fit. You would you would be very fortunate if these things did not visit you at a relatively early age. I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to in their 40s and 50s, or for that matter, older, who would give everything they have if they could simply move back to a point where they were healthy and vital and able to pursue whatever made their lives worth living. Sickness has a way of destroying ourselves before our time. So there are clear guidelines of what we can do to affect that situation positively, the situation of getting ill. Now, we're not talking about genetic predisposition. We're not talking about accidents. Those things are, in many cases, beyond our control. We're talking about an active pursuit of an ideal of optimum health and optimum fitness, depending on what your life dictates. Because fitness is a relative term. Do you want to be fit to play basketball well into your 60s? Do you want to do fly cast fishing well into your 70s? That requires a certain amount of physical fitness, strength, flexibility, aerobic conditioning, strength of heart, circulatory, these things. These things you can change very effectively. An example I always use is a very good friend of mine who is approaching his 60th year, I believe. And about 20 years or so ago, he came and talked to me and said, I'd like to do some personal training. And I said, why? He said, well, I want to be fit. I said, fit for what? He says, well, I'm overweight and I need to lose weight. Well, do you really need somebody to teach these things, considering the information on the internet? He said, no, but I need somebody to motivate me. And I said, well, that's fine. But you know what this will entail. This will entail giving up certain things and changing your lifestyle. Well, he said, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, then you're not truly committed. So why don't you come back to me when you are committed? Well, he was not happy with that, but he went on his way. And in the following days and weeks, he got a total health examination, something normally we all would do. And the results were very, very bad. Doctors gave him 2 years to live. Some of the things that he had that affected him were things like calcification of the heart muscle, cholesterol readings was very, very high, body fat percentage very, very high, very heavy. But he was a heavy man, but his adipose tissue, his fat levels were very high. So the doctors didn't give him a lot of chances for a long, healthy life. And this man was very, very active and ran a company, had a lot of friends, very, very outgoing, which, as a matter of fact, contributed to worsening his situation. So he came to me and said, I will do anything if you can reverse this situation. I said, well, I can't promise, but I know what you have to do. So I gave him a very clear diet, and the diet, a clear program, if you will, of what he has to do to change his life. And the program is not difficult. Most of you who are listening are probably already aware of it. Very, very simply, the World Health Organization has clearly delineated exactly what you should do. Well, obviously, stopping smoking, which is a foregone conclusion, and yet people still smoke. Elimination completely of alcohol. It used to be 2 glasses of wine a day was okay. Now it is total abstinence from alcohol. Sleeping well, 6 to 8 hours a night. Dropping your fat percentage down to a reasonable level within the guidelines established by the World Health Organization. Eliminating, if at all possible, stress, which is not easier. Well, it's easier said than done. I understand that. And last but not, well, plenty of sleep. I think I said that. And exercise daily. Well, you ask yourself, 6 of those 7 dictates are lifestyle adaptations, and so is exercise for that matter. So why exercise? Well, the World Health Organization, in their wisdom, understood that people who smoke probably will not want to give it up. And people who drink will not want to give it up. And people who have a certain lifestyle do not want to change that. We are creatures of habit, and we don't wish to change that. And in many cases, those habits contribute to our feelings, I think, falsely, of security, of well-being. So they kind of suggested that exercise is the great mediator. If you smoke and if you drink and if you eat too much of the wrong kinds of foods, or if you're overweight, exercise will positively contribute to that. And they're right. And science has proven that almost without a doubt. The priorities of exercise, I'm sure all of you who are listening are aware, are primarily aerobic in nature. But aerobic conditioning, strengthening your heart, circulatory system, lungs, capillary beds, veins, arteries, getting that whole cardiorespiratory system efficient is one way of assuring, it's tough to say assuring a long life because so many things can happen, but it will certainly put the odds in your favor that if you do all these things, that the one ameliorating factor is exercise, and that will perhaps allow you to survive a cardiovascular accident that you might have. So, considering the things that threaten our health, one of the things that threaten our health is high blood pressure. Well, exercise, primarily aerobic exercise, will correct that situation. Not alone, but it goes a long way. In Japan, it's primarily excessive salt. In the West, it's primarily too much food or too much fatty food. So it clogs the arteries. It's interesting to note that in Japan, 1 in 7 Japanese have hypertension, high blood pressure, which is relatively significant, considering that the world considers Japan to be a very healthy society. Of course, diet plays a tremendous role. And this individual that I was talking to or teaching radically changed his diet. So in the process, he reversed all of the negative aspects of his health examination. And then he thought he was okay. So he said, well, I don't have to exercise anymore. I don't have to watch my diet. I don't have to be careful. I just go back because I enjoyed what I did before. But I think he didn't understand, and many people do not understand, that until you assess the causative factors of the negative aspects of negative situation of your physicality, you have to delve into the causative factors. What caused this? We weren't born with hypertension. We weren't born with diabetes. Some of us were born with a tendency to be overweight, and that's genetic predisposition. But even then, you can ameliorate that to a certain extent. So basically, it's lifestyle. Now, many people feel that if I become fit, then I don't have to worry about this. Well, that's not exactly true. As I tell many people, simply becoming fit, although it will make you feel good and increase your performance levels, it doesn't always contribute to optimum health, because all of the things I just mentioned, smoking, drinking, diet, sleep, stress, are ameliorated by exercise, but not eliminated by exercise. So if you want to optimize the possibility of living a relatively long and healthy life, you have to adopt a healthy lifestyle. It's not exactly rocket science. Of course we have to do that. So why don't we? Why is it that we don't? Well, we get back to this immortality complex. It's not going to happen to me. It may happen to another person who has identical habits, but it won't happen to me. So, does exercise and adhering to a healthy lifestyle guarantee that you will live a long and healthy life? No, it doesn't. No guarantees. But it will move the odds in your favor that you will. So, how do we age gracefully? It's not all about health. I understand that. It's not all about fitness. It's about a lot of things. It's about personal interaction. It's about professional standing. It's about economic considerations. Uh, it's about human interaction to the point, family, those kinds of things. And but you would be surprised how many people change once they enter the world of. I should enter the world is kind of a not an adequate limb. Is become healthy and become fit. The fitness process is not that difficult. You just have to stick with it. Although sticking with it and commitment is not easy. Many people feel in order to achieve a certain level of fitness, they have to jump in and do hours and hours of training a day. And that's simply not true. Creating the habit of exercise, even 10 or 15 minutes a day, will change your life. A study was made of postmen in Great Britain, and their life was riding a bicycle in rural areas and delivering the mail. And their lifespan was from 20 to 30% longer than the equivalent of people their age. And again, living longer is not the only answer. Living better is the answer. So what are some of the things that being healthy and being fit, how do they change you? How do they change your perspective on what life is all about? Well, number one, it allows you to participate, and it allows you a future to plan upon. I have counseled literally hundreds of people who in their mid-40s cannot realize their potential because they're simply too sick. And I have met some very sad cases who their ignorance, not of what to do, but their refusal to commit to a program of maintaining their health and being reasonably fit, succumb at a very early age when their children are very young, and where the world and their world should be something of delight and joy and satisfaction. And all it is, will I wake up tomorrow morning? And in some cases they didn't, which was a real shame. People tend to place priorities on something that other people have had successes at. So let me give you a few successes. A friend of mine, when I spoke about what we were going to discuss today, said, William Shatner, for all of you who are Star Trek fans, this is a ways back. This is a few years ago. William Shatner was Captain Kirk on the original Star Trek series. The movies and the current Star Trek is a little bit different from what it was then. It's much more sophisticated now. Nevertheless, he was an idol, and he's very good at what he did. He turned 90, and close to his 90th birthday, he took a manned flight into space. You may have read about it in the newspaper. There were a few people on that flight. He was one of them. And he lived to fulfill a lifetime dream where at 40 or 50, he couldn't have done it. But at 90, he couldn't have done it either unless he had been physically capable of doing it. Right. So, Mark, thank you. Yeah, Star Trek was more than 60 years ago. Please don't remind me. I still watch it all the time. And that is an excellent example of somebody who had an objective but didn't have enough time when they were younger. They were too busy living. So in order to have the time, they had to wait until they could either afford it or they were physically capable. I'm sure the testing to go into space, the physical testing was not easy. Jack Lalanne, who many of you who are listening may not know, was a fitness idol, if you will, way back in the 60s. Uh, about the same time that Star Trek was on, about 50 years ago. And he celebrated each birthday by doing some phenomenal feat, like swimming from San Francisco to Alcatraz while pulling a boat with his teeth. These kinds of things. And he celebrated each year of his life. And so, in many respects, staying healthy, being able to realize your potential, to realize your dreams, uh, depends on how physically capable you are of doing that. Many people, as they age, they are simply too weak and tired and sick to do anything more than take a 10-minute walk. And even that is a challenge. So it's important, I think, for us to realize that the things that you do today and the course of action that you decide in regards of health and fitness, I think everybody would be well served to include that as a lifelong objective. I will be 75 years old on the 26th of this month. And if I had not had the physical capability that I did over these years, my life would not have been half as interesting as it has been. I wouldn't have received the benefits. I wouldn't have been able to care about as many people as I have. Wouldn't have been able to share a life with somebody you care about. When you become sick, it consumes you. Warren Buffett's personal trainer is a fellow by the name of Peter Attila, who has a double doctorate from Harvard and MIT. Very, very prominent in the world of physiology. And he has stated that Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in the world, would give up everything he had if he could simply be healthy again. It is a primary consideration. It's the secondary consideration. It seems that as we get older, the primary consideration is economic well-being. Granted, no argument. But if you do not have the physical capacity to positively affect your economic well-being, you're lost. You're lost. And life has no joy. There is no satisfaction, because it should be that you wake up and look forward to beginning the day. And the day should hold promise and reward and satisfaction. And I hesitate to say joy, or at least contentment in the day ahead of you. But if you have a sickness that medicine only temporarily alleviates, if you are in pain and suffering because of something that could be avoided if you adopted a certain course of action when you were 25 years old, it's more than anything else, it's sad. Sad. And I see it much too much. Physical examinations, medical examinations, younger people say, why do I need this? I'm 22, I'm 23, I'm 25. I don't need to have a health check. I can be fit, or I can play baseball. Well, yes, as a matter of fact, in your 20s, you usually can. Youth is a tremendous advantage. But as we get older, things change. However, you will probably not be, well, that's not true. Not probably, but it could be that if you do nothing from the time you are 25 years old, there is a natural deterioration of your state of your physical state. That's the definition of age. A gradual deterioration. So if you have a medical examination when you're 22, that will set the standard on how you change throughout your life. People change differently. There are, again, genetic predispositions uh, that govern this. There are predilection of certain afflictions uh, that you may not be aware of. But a regular medical examination on a yearly basis shows you how your body changes internally. Physical appearances can be altered with fitness, and also internal function can be altered with fitness. But how is it altered? In what way is it altered? Is exercise sufficient, or do I have to stop drinking? Do I have to be more careful about what I eat? These are precautions, but people don't want to confront these things. But as you get older, the reluctance to confront things get stronger. Not, I'm more curious about, how am I aging? Because let's face it, a lot of us in our 60s are kind of afraid of the results. I don't want to know this. But it's necessary that you step up to the plate at an early age and set the standard. So let's talk a little bit about how does one age? Well, as I said, appearances can be enhanced a great deal by exercise. That's really not what is important in terms of aging gracefully. To a certain extent, sure. As you get older, the tendency is your metabolism tends to slow down, so you tend to put on weight, and that changes your appearance. And keep in mind, though, that exercise changes you in three general ways. It changes your appearance, it changes your capacity for physical work, that means strength and endurance, and it changes your state of health. Now, in Japan, when we talk about seikatsu shukanbyo, which is lifestyle-related afflictions, the big three comes to mind of most Japanese, and that's cerebral hemorrhages, heart attacks, and cancer. And it has been shown and proven to a great extent that exercise and paying attention to what the World Health Organization dictates, that of the three, Alzheimer's, dementia, cerebral difficulties can be determined before they get to be unmanageable. Heart difficulties can be determined and enhanced before they become unmanageable. So exercise has a very, very positive effect on this, primarily aerobic exercise. Recently, that same person I just mentioned, Dr. Attila, who was the personal trainer to Warren Buffett, mentioned this, that mortality is enhanced significantly by aerobic exercise. The World Health Organization has stressed that although aerobic exercise is important, the physical strength to perform that aerobic exercise comes from muscular stamina, and that requires a concerted effort to enhance that. So what else can you do to age gracefully? Well, as we mentioned, stop smoking, stop drinking. Diet plays a predominant role. We have to be more careful as we get older. It seems a shame that as we get older, there's less and less that we can do. But that's because the body has changed. Your kidneys and liver and internal function are gradually fatigued. Exercise can help with that, but diet has a primary role. For whatever reason, I've been very, very fortunate. My internal function in terms of the liver and kidneys and all those internal organs are much, much younger than my 75 years. And through daily exercise of somewhat excessive, perhaps, 2 to 3 hours a day has allowed me to, doesn't change all the wrinkles. All the wrinkles don't get ironed out. But physical strength, physical stamina, ability to do simple tasks climbing stairs, lifting boxes, going shopping. These kinds of things are not a challenge. But other people who are in their 70s, it's surprising to see what a tremendous challenge those simple activities are. Recently, I had a series of the 2 shots for prevention of the COVID virus. And the ward where I live, you reserved a time and you went to get your shot. I'm sure many of you are listening to the same thing. And I was in a room of people essentially pretty much my age, give or take 10 years. And I was amazed that not only were many of them physically challenged, many of them, not many, but a significant 20 or 30% were either in wheelchairs or using a cane to walk. Many of them, a much larger percent, were hunched over, and I could see the kyphosis, lordosis, scoliosis, things we've talked about. The structure of their spine had changed. Their posture was poor, but it was more than that. They were tired, and not just tired physically. They were tired of living. They were tired of getting up in the morning and facing the day when the simple tasks of standing up, of climbing stairs, of preparing a meal became a significant challenge. I don't want any of you who happen to be listening to have to do that. And this is not a warning, but it is a suggestion. If you wish to age gracefully, which is a topic tonight, then I urge you to, number one, first of all, have a yearly medical check. Find out exactly where you are every single year and how you have changed every year. Pursue an exercise program that will allow you to achieve age slowly, not only gracefully, but slowly, so that a year for you is the equivalent to 5 years for somebody who doesn't do anything. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. It's not. My chronological age is 75. My physiological age is about middle 40s or 50. That's significant. It's not bragging. It is a question of pride for me. Yeah, I'm very happy to be capable of doing the things that I do. I'm very happy I can get up, and getting up is not a challenge, except the day after judo practice. That's a challenge. These kinds of things. And every day that I exercise and every day that I pursue my physical goals, it enhances me. It makes me feel that I'm still capable. And as we get older, that enters your mind. Am I still capable? Am I still pertinent? Do I still have the capacity to be of importance to others? It's a significant mental state. And I think when people talk about aging gracefully, I don't know if they consider these things, but I do. I think that the older I get, I want to be able to do what I do. I want to be able to help others to achieve their objectives. I want to be able to get up and put in a 12-hour day without being exhausted. I want to be able to lift considerable resistance and walk an hour without being exhausted. I want to be all that I am capable of as long as I possibly can. I want to be as physically capable and as emotional capable and as intellectually capable as I possibly can my entire life. And to me, that's aging gracefully. without barriers, without difficulty, without problems that I have created by doing all the things that are wrong for me when I was younger. We are not only as old as we are as we carry all the years prior to today with us. We are at the age that we are now, that we were 10 years and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 years ago. We are all of those ages and the result of all those years spent today. Now, we can be capable and eager and aggressive and productive well into our 80s. There is a drop off. There is inevitability, of course. But interesting enough, scientists have said that we have the capability of living to be 150 years old. It is what we do not do that prevents us from achieving that by 2/3. So think of it. Right? In Japan at this moment, it is 100 years. 100 years of life. That's 2/3 of what we are potentially capable of. That's interesting. Now, I don't know, maybe 100 years up, maybe you're just emotionally tired and maybe you want to exit, but I don't. Well, sometimes I get tired of things that irritate all of us, but not physically. And health-wise, I'm thankful every day that I am capable of doing the things that I do. And I think that I would like all of you listening to be that way too, to live your life as full and as satisfying, as enjoying as you possibly can. The caveat is you have to be healthy to do that. You have to pay attention to the things that attempt to steal your health from you, that make you weak, that make you rely on other things like canes and whatever. It's not for everybody, and it's not elitism. It is simply a statement of fact. I think we all wish to age gracefully, and as we all get older, for the most part, it just gets tougher. It just gets tougher. Now, again, I have said this in this broadcast several times, it's not just physically tougher. There are economic considerations, there are relationship considerations, all of these things. But if you are healthy and if you are physically capable, those other problems are, by comparison, relatively easily resolved because you feel strong, you feel capable, and you are interested in life because you don't have anything holding you back. To me, that's what aging gracefully means. Being in full control of all your sensibilities, and are confident in your physical state, which contributes significantly to your sense of self-esteem, your sense of worth, and on a larger scale, your sense of pertinence to be able to contribute to life and to others. I don't want to go too much into the philosophical aspects of this, but there is an overlay of philosophy when it comes to this. How will I age? Will I be as content when I'm 75 as I was when I was 30? Because face it, in your 20s, you're learning, and in your 30s, you're trying to develop what you've learned into something that either that enhances you economically or in other ways. I think the Chinese have a phrase that the first 30 years of your life, you're learning, and the next 30 years of your life, you're experiencing what you've learned. And the last 30 years of your life, you're teaching what you have learned. So I'm in the last 30. And I hope that what I have said tonight causes all of you out there to think about what your state is. So, Good Son says, what's the difference between health and sick? Well, it's interesting. In many cases, sickness is a reality, but it's also a state of mind. The phrase wellness was coined to remove people, rather than having them think of, what do I do when I get sick? Wellness was about, what do I do to preventing getting sick? That's where the term originated. And this is what we're talking about tonight. What do you do to prevent getting sick? I mean, again, and this is again a reiteration of what I've gone over in the last 30 or 40 minutes, but some things you can't control. So we couldn't control the virus, but we can control how we fight the virus. We can wear masks. We can practice social distancing. We can, wash your hands, sterilize your hands when you're going out. It's nobody likes this. Nobody likes this. Nobody likes to be told, but it is preventive. And that's what exercise is. Exercise is a preventive approach to not getting sick. Because sometimes when you get sick, it's too late. It's too late. It's much better to prevent it from happening in the first place. And the difference between staying healthy and getting sick, well, all you have to do is contract the COVID virus, and or any other accident related to lifestyle. It's a shame that one of the best motivating factors for a person to be in exercise is their first heart attack. I know that sounds cold, but it is true. It shocks people to say, wait a minute. I thought it wasn't going to happen to me. Well, guess it did. So, lastly, one other thing. As we get older, our cells die and new cells are produced, developed. In the chromosomes in the cells, there are little things on the end of the chromosome called telomeres. And they contain all the DNA information and a lot of the information that has preceded that particular point in time. And from what I understand, as you age and those cells divide, the telomeres become shorter and shorter and shorter, so that information is not transferred to the next new cell, which scientifically, the true scientific definition of age is when there are no more telomeres. They're only the cell. And when the cell divides, you lose information. And the body loses information how to battle infection, how to battle disease. And that's what, from a scientific viewpoint, that's the true definition of age, when you can no longer transfer the information. You can do a lot of other things to prevent some of the more negative aspects of aging. For example, posture, physical capacity. Those things, fine. But internal function that govern whether you live or die, even though they can be enhanced with exercise and diet and the things we discussed, the inevitable will occur. We have to face that. The poignancy of life is that there is an end to it. There is a finite number of years that we have to live. If we are fortunate and if we take care of ourselves, we can live a full, interesting, content, joyful life if we can at least avoid the initial onset of afflictions and disease. And exercise and taking care of yourself, according to the World Health Organization guidelines, as you discussed, takes you a long way into doing that. So I wish you all the luck in the world and all the good fortune. And more than that, I wish you awareness. And once you are aware that there are things I can do that will allow me to live my life to its fullest, then I urge you to follow them. Fitness is one aspect. It's not the only one, but it is tremendously significant. It amazes me that more people are not doing it and that they are ignoring World Health Organization guidelines. It just simply amazes me because the answers are right there in front of us. I am willing to help anybody who is suffering and wishes to better their situation. But I have a hard time trying to tell people what they should do when they're already obvious to me that they're already pursuing a life that is going to lead them to disaster. Fitness, like physicians, my job and physician's job is to eliminate the reason for our existence. We want people to stay healthy. We want people to adopt a certain methodology, a certain lifestyle that promotes their health and fitness. And if they do that, they don't need us. It's that simple. It would be nice if people did not need physicians. It is estimated that 80% of the people that are in hospitals suffering today are there because of what they ignored all or several of the dictates of the World Health Organization. They did not stop smoking. They did not stop drinking. They did not alleviate stress. They did not sleep well. They did not watch their diet. They did not exercise. There you have it. The choice, as always, is up to all of you who are listening. You choose your life. You choose how you live your life. All of these are simply suggestions that hopefully will make your life a little bit more rewarding. So, on that happy note, I will see you next Thursday evening. And next Tuesday evening, on the Japanese version of Kenko Dojo, a very good friend of mine, Chuck Jackson, who teaches Taekwondo in Japan, is going to be on. And he's going to tell us about what he does. And I'm sure Ida-san will be with us, and he will do some of the translating, and I will be there. I would like all of you to meet Chuck Jackson, a wonderful young man who has a tremendous future ahead of him. He teaches children Taekwondo. He also teaches actors these different procedures for fight scenes for movies or whatever. Very, very good man. I think you'll all enjoy the broadcast. And it's on Tuesday nights, and it's in Japanese. I urge you to attend. So until then, please take care of yourself and stay healthy, stay fit, and hope to see you next time. Good night. Thank you for participating.